Hey, what's going on everyone? This video doing a comparison of the Western Digital TV Live, which released in 2012 and goes between $100 to $115 in North America, up against the Western Digital TV Play, which released in early 2013 and it varies from $60 to $70 North American. If you want to get really in-depth detail of each product, I have individual video reviews. I'll put a link to those video reviews in the description below. Furthermore, if you want to know which type of files each one supports, in their individual video reviews, if you go in their video description, I put a list as to which video files and codecs are supported. So it's really important that you check out the video reviews instead for more detail. So what I'll do is start with the remotes. The TV Live has a much more complicated looking remote, even though it's more comfortable to hold, whereas the TV Play remote is much more simplified. The key difference here is that the TV Play has some app shortcuts, only a few, and the TV Live has an onboard keyboard. However, the numbers work all the time, but the letters don't activate in many of the apps. Some of the apps will use them, some of the apps won't. But generally speaking, you have navigation, fast forwarding, the media, play, pause, stuff like that, power buttons. You can only turn the device on and off through the remotes. There's no power buttons on the devices. But even though the keyboard only works some of the times here, I have to say that the winner in terms of remote is the TV Live, and you'll understand in the video why I say that specifically. In terms of the size, the TV Play is slightly smaller. It's not a huge difference because both devices are generally small to start with. If you compare it to my Nexus 4 phone, you'll notice that they're both pretty compact anyway. So the top is the TV Play, bottom is TV Live. On the front you have both remote sensors, LED notifications letting you know the device is on. On the TV Live at the front you have the first USB port, which is a nice design having it right at the front. On the TV Play, you have its only USB port. The TV Live has nothing on the right. On the back, okay, so it has DC for power, audio, video, composite jack, HDMI, Ethernet for internet connection, and optical audio. Whereas the TV Live has the exact same thing, but an additional USB port at the back. Over on the left, both devices have nothing. On the top, both devices have nothing. On the bottom, there's also another key difference. Both of them have their serial numbers, reset buttons. The reset button for the TV Live is hidden. The key difference here is that the Western Digital TV Live allows for wall mounting because it has these brackets, so you can wall mount it this way, whatever. The TV Play does not. One more key difference in terms of hardware, software, however you want to look at it. The TV Play does support Dolby Digital 5.1 surround sound. There's a Dolby Digital logo, just barely you can see it, but it does not support DTS. So you get Dolby Digital 5.1 surround sound, but it does not support DTS audio, and it does not support MPEG-2 videos. A rare file format nowadays, but it doesn't support MPEG-2 videos. Okay, so actually the very last thing I want to mention in terms of physical components is that they both have Wi-Fi adapters built inside. I cannot explain or tell you how strong the Wi-Fi signal is in both because it depends on how strong is your Wi-Fi signal. Is the router far from your device or is it close? How many walls are in between the device and the router? So it's impossible for me to answer that for you guys because there's too many variables. It depends on your home network setup. 4 terabytes is just too large for each media player to handle. However, my 1.5 terabyte hard drive, both of them run just fine on each media player. Alright, so what you're seeing now is the TV Live, which is the last year's model and the more expensive one. I'm not going to go into settings and stuff, that's pretty boring. You can this is your home screen, you can change the wallpaper of course, you can do that with the TV Play as well. You get your RS feed if you have an internet connection. Games is pretty boring stuff. This fun spot is also available in the TV Play. Alright, so it took about 15 seconds for this to show up. You have basic games like chess, blackjack and stuff, 2D games, it's not even worth mentioning. Okay, so you're still on the TV Live. If you plug in a USB stick, you go to files, you can access all files. You can also filter by like photos and stuff over there and pictures, but we'll just go to all files. Here you can see your USB stick and you have these special icons at the top right. Basically one of them allows you to, like, for example, change the way you preview folders, the way they sort and stuff. But what I want to do is explain something really important to you guys. The TV Live can play MKV files, MP4 files with a codec of H.264. Even movies that are 2 hours long and they're 15 gigabytes in size, it plays it like a dream. Extremely smooth, very easy. It also plays MTS file formats from my home camera, my older one. The older one had a bitrate of 21 megabytes per second. My new camcorder also has MTS file format, but it has a bitrate of 26 megabytes per second. That's extremely high quality. It's really rare for camcorders to play. Like, here's my cousin just jamming away. It's a really rare bit rate. It's extremely high, so most people won't have the same problem I do. But I noticed that at the 12-second mark, audio cuts out. There, automatically it just cut out on its own. And the picture I can notice is slightly sluggish. So the issue here is that if you have a camcorder that records at a bitrate of 26 megs per second, this media player will not play it. If it's 21 megabytes or lower, I've noticed that it's just fine. One thing I really like about the Western Digital Live is that basically if you're trying to, stream something over your home network, it'll run like a dream, obviously depending on your network connection. But anything that can be played through, let's say, a USB stick, it'll support it from your computer. So basically, if I can just simply share a folder on my home PC, as long as there's some sort of media in it, pictures, video, music, whatever, the Western Digital Media Player will play it just fine. The Western Digital Play has this feature. You can stream stuff from your PC, but it won't work as well. And here's why. The Western Digital Play is limited to basically Windows Media Center. So you have to share some media content through Windows Media Center. The problem with Windows Media Center is that it doesn't support MKV files. If you go to services, here, this is a list of all the apps. You can just pause the video and look through them. I'm not going to go through them all because it takes too long. But you get a pretty extensive amount of apps. One thing I want to clarify is that both media players do not come with a web browser. Furthermore, you cannot download your own apps. Whatever comes with the media player, that's all you get. And the only way you can get more apps is if Western Digital has a software or firmware update and they include an additional app. So unfortunately, you're stuck with what you have, but the good thing is that you get the prime streaming apps, which are Hulu, Netflix, and YouTube. Those apps will vary depending on where you live. They'll change. But what you're seeing now is the Hulu Plus app. I'm only going to demonstrate it once on the Western Digital Live because the UI and design is the exact same thing on the Western Digital Play. So HD videos streaming through Hulu Plus, they look fantastic. Right off the bat, the HD video will play right away, obviously depending on your internet connection. And scrolling left and right will allow you to fast forward. Scrolling here to fast forward is a lot slower than the TV Play. The TV Play, if I just hold on to the right cursor, it'll just zoom all the way down there. Whereas the Western Digital Live, which is what you're watching it through right now, I had to repeatedly press fast forward or the right cursor button to navigate. And it can be a bit annoying. But, the UI in general is pretty easy to use. And as you saw, this is an HD clip. Look how fast it fast forwarded that clip. Again, I have a good internet connection. If you have a wired connection, yours should run just the same. So Hulu is a fantastic experience. Alright, so opening up Netflix on the Western Digital Live, it's kind of slow. In fact, it's just as slow as the TV Play. But generally, scrolling through movies and stuff, it's kind of slow. The Western Digital Play is about 2 to 3 times faster when Netflix is open. Startup time on both is pretty slow for Netflix, but just general, responsive time when the app is open, the TV Play is a lot faster. But I'm not going to demonstrate it twice because, again, the interface design of Netflix is the exact same thing on both media players. The thing with Netflix is that for both media players, Netflix has grainy quality at first, but when your internet connection keeps up with it, after maybe 10 seconds for me, I noticed that the picture quality will switch to HD and then it looks just fine. Right now, I just saw that the picture quality has increased by a significant amount. Alright, so even when it comes to exiting Hulu and Netflix, the Western Digital Play is faster. You're still looking at the Western Digital Live. It's slower to exit. Here's the weird thing. Western Digital Live has 2 YouTube apps. This is the custom version, modded by Western Digital. This is YouTube Lean Back, which is an awful experience. I choose to ignore this because it's terrible. The modded version of the Western Digital YouTube app, I like it. It's a lot faster. It's responsive. It looks great. So let's play something. Alright, so I find that the Western Digital modded version of the YouTube app just generally cleaner looking. The main menu in the YouTube modded version of the Western Digital, it looks cleaner. It's easier to use. General navigation is pretty much the same though, but you have the standard seek bar from Western Digital here at the bottom, whereas the YouTube Lean Back app is slightly altered. But for the most part, once the video is playing, it's extremely responsive. I'm just skipping through. It goes in 10-second intervals. It's able to keep up just fine. Okay, so this time I have the Western Digital Play hooked up. This is the main menu. It's just your favorites. If you go to the far left, you can filter through music, stuff like that. So example, let's say picture apps, it'll filter them for you. Of course, favorites is pretty much your central. It's your main hub. It's your main page. You can choose to show all apps if you want. This is a list. Again, you can pause it and see what apps are available. It's generally the same as the Western Digital Live. You have one less gaming section. That's the only real thing I noticed. And you only have one YouTube app. While you're doing this, you can actually go to the top. You can see app usage, which basically tells you how much space is being used up by apps, which is useless because you can't download your own apps. Going to the top here, we'll show you alerts like firmware updates and other stuff like that. From the favorites, if you press the options on any of these icons, you can choose to move it around the screen, unpin it, or you can block an app if you want. So you can put a password on it. So if you choose to use Facebook and you don't want to see people seeing your stuff when you're not around, yeah, you can put a password on it like I did with Spotify. It'll ask you for a password and you got to input it. So it's a neat feature to have. But generally speaking, the UI is a lot more responsive than the Western Digital Live. My storage is where you can basically access your USB stick that's plugged in. You can even access stuff from your PC or whatever. But again, stuff has to be shared through Windows Media Center. If it's not, you can't see it. So MKV files cannot be streamed. You can go to the top, change the source, pretty much similar to the Western Digital Live, except you don't have those color-coded shortcut buttons at the top. So not a big deal. As mentioned, I'm not going to demonstrate Netflix and Hulu Plus, but generally speaking, the app startup time is a lot faster. Netflix is about the same for both. It takes about 30 seconds to start up, really slow. Hulu Plus is a lot faster. This is the YouTube Leanback app. They got rid of the custom version of the Western Digital YouTube app, which I preferred. They decided to stick with YouTube Leanback only, which I don't like. But let me demonstrate something for you guys. Okay, the bizarre thing about this YouTube app is that there's no submit button either. You have to stop typing for about 3 to 4 seconds before YouTube app is like, okay, they stopped typing, so maybe I should search, whatever they typed. I don't like it. I don't like this app in general, but I have to say when a video is playing, its responsiveness is pretty awesome. Alright, so I want to mention an important thing. Basically, both media players do support DLNA playback. So if you want to stream something from your Android device, for example, like myself, I can stream it back onto both media players. But again, how it'll play back will depend on your internet connection. Actually, your router connection. To put it more precise. And what I'm demonstrating for you right now is the same 26 megabytes per second bitrate clip, but the Western Digital TV Play can play it just fine. There's still audio. There's no lag at all like the Western Digital TV Live had. Okay, to break this comparison down, I'll start with the remotes. The Western Digital Play has an easier to understand remote, whereas the Western Digital Live is a bit more complicated, but honestly it's not that difficult to learn. You get used to it fairly quickly. Plus it has an on remote keyboard, which isn't used in every app. Sometimes it just won't do anything, but the fact is it's there. So in that regard, the Western Digital Live remote is better. In terms of the general body design, the Western Digital Live wins because it has a USB port at the front and a second one at the back. The TV Play only has one USB port and is at the side. Now, in terms of file compatibility, the winner is, well, for most people, it'll be the Western Digital Live, mainly because it can play MPEG-2 and DTS audio, which is missing from the TV Play. So basically, it can play everything the TV Play can, plus more. In fact, any file type I've ever thrown at this thing, it can play it just fine. The codecs on this thing built in are fantastic. However, my issue is more of a personal one, and maybe for the odd person here and there, you must have a very expensive camera in the first place to get a video recording at 26 megabytes per second bitrate like myself. But the fact of the matter is, because my home camera has such high quality that this can't play it, but this one can, but it plays less file types, I'm stuck at a loss between which one's better. In terms of general speed and snappiness, the Western Digital Play wins by far. The app interface the general interface is a lot easier to use and learn on the TV Play. It's simplified, but straight to the point, and it still looks good, which is very important. But even opening up apps, playing that high quality home camcorder clip I have, it does it all. It's about 2 times faster in responsiveness compared to the Western Digital Live. It's not very common, but the Western Digital Live will have these odd hiccups where you'll navigate left and right. It just won't respond. The one thing I didn't touch base on is the remote apps. I believe it's available for iOS, but I know for Android it's available for sure. But the Android version of things, the remote app is horrible. It is compatible with both devices if they're all connected on the same network as your Android device. but the app is so bad that I didn't want to touch base on it. So that's why I purposely chose to skip it out. In terms of network playback, the Western Digital Live wins hands down because it can play almost any media file type possible, whereas the TV Play is lacking big time because it must be shared through Windows Media Center. In terms of online content, it's relatively the same. The most important ones to me personally are Netflix, Hulu Plus, and YouTube. Both of them have them available. The TV Play is a lot more responsive at fast forwarding and stuff like that. So I already talked about speed earlier, but you guys know it's better. So if you were to ask me my personal opinion which one to buy, because of my new camera, which is the Sony HX20, it's not actually a camcorder, it's actually a digital camera. I'll put a link to that video review in the description below. Both of them, they have problems. This one doesn't have DTS audio. It has poor network streaming. This one plays everything, has great network streaming, but it can't keep up with my own home videos. So on a personal note, both of them aren't good enough for me anymore. Western Digital really needs to pick up their game. You see, what they need to do is keep this body design. What they should have done this year is keep this body design, take the interface design of this one and its speed, and put it in here. That would have been the ideal media player. And in this day and age, the sad part is Western Digital still, in my personal opinion, has the most popular and best media players, but they still can't get it right. So that means there's no such thing as a great media player, but that's my personal opinion. Whatever you choose to do is up to you. I can't recommend which one to get because they're both under my standard for now, but we'll see what the future brings if I get a better media player soon. If you found this video useful, check out my website in the description below. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.